What's up, everybody? It's your boy Showtimedr. I'm here with your Dieharte guide, so let's get into it. So Dieharte, the way I'm building him right now is Assassin tree. You can also take him down the Horse tree, the Cavalry tree. And there's also a pretty interesting build with him on swords, as a sword wielder, just your basic warrior. So, real quick, when you upgrade this, the most I've seen it on the websites, because both websites have it differently, so I don't know which one's correct. His passive here, crit is increased by 10%. One of them has it at 20%, one of them doesn't even bother, so... Not sure what it gets to, but it gets to at least 20% extra crit chance. So, now after eliminating an enemy, we'll trigger Smoke. All damage taken is decreased by 30% for 1 turn. 3-turn cooldown on that, by the way. It'll probably... I'm not sure if that upgrades. I think I saw it at the high level, it was still 3 turns, so... If you're expecting every turn smoke bomb like Batman or something, it ain't happening, bros. So. Now, the first skill he's going to get right off as a cavalry unit, Onrush. Has a 1 block radius, active, 2-turn cooldown. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage. Before battle, defense and defense of the troop is increased by 30%. So it just helps make his tanks his troops a little tankier, as well as doing bonus damage here. And then also... the passive he is going to have when he's the cavalry unit still. When initiating combat, damage increases by 10%. When mobility is not 0, it's possible to attack again after attacking. It's actually move again. That's supposed to be move, not attack. That would be nice if he could attack again, but yeah, right. It's not the way it is, so... Little translation thing here. So now we're going to, real quick, let me show you guys Origin of Light. This is one of the factions he's in. Keep in mind some of these heroes. So obviously he's here. Luna, who I have no idea about right now. Tiaris, she's one of the SSR healers. It's really good. Kirikaze, just a really hard-hitting unit. Silverwolf, really good assassin. Freya, the Cleave Queen. Or the Barb Queen, rather. She's pretty good. Lifany, I'm not that familiar with, but she's apparently magical. Sophia, really good SR healer. Pierre starts off as a spear unit. You can turn him into a submersible unit. And then, I don't know much about Dios. Jessica, y'all should know about Jessica. Lewin, pretty good sword unit. So keep that faction in mind as I go through, because there is a faction buff when I look at the assassin tree here. So when you have it as a knight, if you come over here to the left, it's going to start going down the assassin with the raider. Now the passive you get here... And this is pretty interesting. If crit damage is dealt when entering battle, 1 extra fixed damage can be triggered after battle. Damage is 2 times hero's attack. So you really, if you're going this build, you really want crit. So skill and anything that gives you any type of crit percentage. His passive already gives you a bonus to 10. And to be perfectly honest, let me go back and show you guys real quick. Skill is the crit passive, or the crit damage. Or crit chance, rather. I'm not sure how much skill translates to 1%, if it changes per level. I'm not sure. If anyone knows that, please let me know. Because I see the plus 10 here. And then that could be from the passive, but I believe it's actually from the gear, which I'll look at later. But we'll get more into that. Let's go back to the classes. So then his troopers, you're going to get this ambusher. Now keep in mind this ambusher. He can do range damage just like the assassin can. Assassin most of the time is going to be throwing daggers. On occasion, you'll go up and use his 1 to deal direct damage to somebody like a... You don't want to take range damage from like an archer, etc. Now, their crit chance is increased by 20. Well, if you read his passive, it says if crit damage is dealt when entering battle. So that means... If he gives crit plus 20 to the hero, then possibly if the troop crits or the troop is affecting the total crit, then you're going to get that extra fixed damage proc from the passive. That's pretty sexy for a troop, actually. That's pretty sexy. Now, he's still weak against melee. And in general, guys, assassins, they're very weak against like lancers, swords, etc. because... just the armor. The armor blocks a lot of their damage, and then they do a lot of damage back to the assassin. Now, there is also a sharpshooter unit. Now, this sharpshooter unit, this is the guy you want to use if you're going to be fighting against flyers. His passive here, when initiating combat, 20% chance to reduce enemies' defense by 20%. Last one turn. So that's pretty good. You should probably run this guy in general if he is your only defensive debuffer and you're doing something like Dragon or something that's really tanky. Just to get that reduction of defense so the rest of your troops can go on and follow up. Or the rest of your team, rather, can go up and follow up. But otherwise, you should always run this guy, in my opinion, unless you're fighting flyers. So just some food for thought there. These guys are also weak to melee. Now, once you're done with this class, you go down to High Master. There's some fun stuff here. Now, here's the faction buff I was talking about, Light of Hope. Active skill, attack and defense increases significantly for all allies with Origin of Light. Within range, well, range is everywhere, so it doesn't matter. Cooldown's 3 turns, it lasts for 4 turns, so as long as this guy's dead, you can basically keep it up. Or this guy's not dead, rather. When the troop has 5 or more buffs, all stats are increased by 15%. Pretty good, so... Now, the troops he's gonna... Oh, actually, I forgot his other active here. Severing Flash, this is a span of 2 blocks with a 3-turn cooldown. Physical damage ignores guards. So that means all troops. It ignores all troops. This is what makes Assassins crazy late game. Early game, not so much because the troops are there most of the time, but late game, they can one-shot most units if you get them built properly. Now, by most units, I mean like PvP. I'm not talking about like Dragon or anything, although I'm sure they can do pretty decent damage, but Dragon doesn't have troops anyways. To my knowledge. So let's go here. Ignores guard and single enemy directly. Basically damages single enemy directly, dealing 1.3 times damage before battle. Drains at most 2 buffs from the enemy. Now drains buffs, I'm not sure if that means they steal the buffs or if they just dispel them, because they say dispel normally for most of these, so drains might be he gets the buffs. So that could also be pretty crazy if you manage to steal some pretty good, like, attack buffs. And, yeah, if anyone wants to let me know about that part, that's pretty cool, because a lot of people are starting to get close to 35 now. But, of course, I think you have to actually get to, like, 40... Well, whatever, anyways. So this skill is going to make him a really hard-hitting unit on top of all the other crit damage, crit chance... fixed damage, etc. That's what's gonna make this unit good. Now the troops, they're just basically elite troops of the previous ones we just had. Crits increased by 10% though, versus, if you remember, this guy had 20%. So possibly, you may want to go back to this guy on occasion just to get that extra crit. But this guy's attack also goes up 5%. So that's pretty good there. Now your Demon Hunters... Before initiating combat, 30% chance to reduce enemies' mobility by 2 turns. That could be pretty good. And decrease their defense by 20%. Which, remember, the other troop, he only had decreased defense. Now, reducing mobility, that means that, you know, on occasion there's a lot of units in this game to where you're on a race, or they're trying to get to a certain point on the map. Then this could be really good in locking a particularly high mobility unit down. And then once again... You know, strong against flyers, weak against melee, both of them. So that's what you're going to do if you go down the assassin path, guys. Now, I know more about the assassin path just because I've done it. But I will tell you guys a little bit more about the other paths. Now, let's say you didn't get a Leon or you don't have a good cavalry unit. And you could run this guy cavalry. He's actually pretty good. So he gets much better later than he does early is his thing. But this skill right here though, active skill here, 3-turn cooldown. Attack increases by 20%, lasts a turn. When cast, it is possible to attack again with a 3-square extra block. This actually killed me on stream yesterday in PvP because I didn't realize he had this. So I thought I was out of the enemy's range, and then the Dieharte did that. And he went back and he killed my Jessica, who was about to teleport Sherry to the back of their unit so she could one-shot their caster and their healer. So I still won, but that kind of messed up my strategy. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. Now his troopers, it's your elite cavalry, you know. Damage taken decreased by 10%. Typical strength and weakness, just like always. Same thing. Griffin Rider. Now one thing I will say is, if you're going to fight Lancers, you're probably going to want to do the Griffin Rider. As long as there's no archers around at least. Or you don't have to deal with archers as much, because these guys are going to tank for you. Lancers better than these guys will. Assuming you've been upgrading them at regular intervals. So when soldiers' HP is above 80%, damage taken is decreased by 10%. Just a little bit tankier, that's all. These guys have to initiate combat to do that. These guys have to be above 80%, so pros and cons, you know. Now, once you get down to Royal Knight, here's his passive. For every 1-block move before battle, troop crit, not his crit, troop crit increases by 5%. Crit damage increases by 5%, up to 15%. So you gotta move 3 squares to get this. But essentially... Now, as I read this, obviously troop crit goes up, but then it just says crit damage. I don't know if that means everybody's crit damage, his crit damage, the troops' crit damage. That'll have to be parsed out at a later date. If you guys know that, let me know. I'm not taking that tree, so I'm not gonna know once I get down to that skill, Violet and Dash. Now, there's also 1,000 Hooves. 1,000 Hooves is an active, 5-turn cooldown, 1-block span. Physical damage, single enemy, 1.7 damage. After the battle, enemy's mobility is -2 and cannot guard, so rather than having the troopers do it now, these guys can do it. But this one lasts 2 turns and it cannot be dispelled. I believe Leon gets a similar thing earlier, but his can be dispelled. So, this actually is a pretty nasty ability. Once again, you can focus a runner or high mobility unit. Go after him and get him pretty good. Now, we're going to get into his troops here. It's basically heavy cavalry. Same strengths and weaknesses as always, but these guys have 7% bonus attack, which is pretty good. And then the Griffins. Same thing with the 80% HP, but now it's attack and defense versus just attack before. Actually, it wasn't attack before, it was reduction in damage, I believe. Yeah. So this one actually buffs attack and defense, which if you get their stats really high, is going to keep snowballing up and up and up and up. So, pretty crazy. Now, the horse, you know, most people are going to tell you Leon's better, but I would actually tell you that this is actually a pretty good build regardless. The class masteries, if you notice, whole lot of skill being focused here. Now, if you notice skill, you don't get as much skill as you do these other stats, which lots of attack, some HP, a little bit of defense. Well, let's go back. Oh wait, I gotta show you Swordsman. Okay, so Swordsman has a unique application here, and consider this guy if you don't have a good swordsman. Actually consider building him sword early. It's not bad because, check this passive out. Crit is increased by 10%, okay. Crit chance, by the way. When damage is dealt, 50% chance to nullify enemies' passive skills, which means you could fight a leaden, and make it so that he can't regen for 2 turns if this goes off. Critical hits, by the way, always make that successful. It's not 50%. Always make this successful. This opens up crazy builds for the assassin and the cavalry, actually, to where you could have this skill, say the fixed damage skill on one of your active skills, or maybe you want 2 active skills if your crit's high enough, and this could just go really bonkers. But now as a swordsman, though, he gets the typical elite infantry troops. Damage taken decreased by 10 whenever you initiate attack. And then same thing with these guys, but crit is increased by 10 when you initiate attack. So, but same strengths and weaknesses. So, kind of, it's crazy because if you think about it, he has at his disposal, once he gets done, infantry troops. He's also going to have horse troops, a griffin rider, and then he has the assassin style troops. Yeah, I wish that they would make this demon hunter like beat up holy or demons more, but whatever. It's just the way it is. So, yeah, so there's a possibility you could go swords on him early, depending on how your box is, if you really need a swordsman. That would actually be a really sexy skill to get early. I would have considered it more if I'd have been looking at it at the time, but I'm already going down assassin now, so that's just the way it is. Now, skills that are important: attack, clearly; skill, clearly, because that increases your crit. And then after that, you know, defense is good, HP is good, int whatever, magic defense helps you as well. Now, we're going to get into his equipment. So, real quick before we get into the actual equipment, this is what I've enchanted with. I've been meaning. By the way, go back to my old videos if I remember to do it. Hopefully, I'll get it done by later today. I'll recommend on my old videos which enchants, because we unlocked enchants since I made those videos. But Blazing Sun's really good for this guy because you want the bonus crit percentage, and then the crit damage eventually. Now, if in the event of late game you get to a point where your crit's so high you don't need that crit percentage, then possibly you could go the attack builds, but it would kind of depend on what you end up settling on, whether it's assassin or horse, cavalry unit, etc. Now, we'll get into the actual equipment I am going to recommend. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you're building him cavalry, because I don't have the cavalry equipment down, just go look at Leon's cavalry video. The stuff I recommend for him is basically going to work for this guy as well. And gallery. Now, we're going to go over SSR gear that would be really good on... Most of the time, it's going to be the assassin build, guys. Now, if you're going to go for the horse build, like I said, go look at Leon. If you're going to go for the sword build, I don't have a sword build video up yet, so I'm going to have to come up with that. But wherever my first sword unit is, it's probably going to be, I don't think Leaden Sword, what's his name? Bernie. It'll probably be Bernie, although Bernie is a little bit tanky, though, so... I don't know, I'll let you guys know about sword units later on, but this is just pure assassins. Now, as an assassin, he can use bows and he can use daggers, which is kind of interesting, but I'm figuring most people early game, they're going to want their bows on their actual bowmen. So, what I'm going to recommend is going to be mostly daggers here, so let's get into it. The Spirit Griever. You can put this on your warrior too if you want. When attacking, crit is increased by 3%, damage taken decreased by 10%. So that's pretty good. Just overall, help keep him up, give him a little bit more crit chance. And then I'm also looking for the Wind Cutter. There's another dagger. Attack plus 2%. When initiating combat after battle, grants a 25% chance to reduce the enemy's defense by 20%. So that's pretty good because... Let's say you're focusing like Dragon or something and you didn't go... the horse build, where you can get the enemy defense down. Actually, was that the horse build? Well, it might have been the assassin build. Or either way, even if you don't have that skill yet, this is a good chance to reduce the enemy's defense after the battle. Because, you know, we always got those tanky units we got to focus on. And then a little bit of attack always helps. And then there's also... Let's find it. Thought it was another dagger. Oh yeah, this one. Alright, Balthury the Seductress. Can also be used on your sword unit. Crit is increased by 2%. After landing a critical hit in battle, deals fixed damage once to the enemy for 0.5. Now, if you're running the skill where when he crits, he does 2 times damage, from what I've seen of Barb, you can have double effects go off before and after combat, so I'm hoping that this would work. Anyone that could test this, let me know. Maiden Scorn, or just 2 after combat effects with fixed damage. But I've seen it work with Barb, so I'm assuming it works well with this as well. Now we're going to get into armor here. So, Monkey King Vest, that is actually one of them. You can have this on your arch, or, sorry, your assassin here. When attacked, attack and crit increase by 3%. So, inevitably, he's going to get attacked, so it'll be nice to hit as hard as possible when you can. Armor has pretty good defense here. Let me find the other stuff I was looking at. Looking for last rites. I think it's down here somewhere. Nope, I'm off. Oh yeah, real quick for you sword and you horse units. Aeolus Battle Armor is actually a good one. I recommended this one on Leon. Attack with a range attack, 10% chance to decrease damage taken in the battle by 30%. Pretty sexy. Now where is... Yeah, I'm not familiar with exactly where they put these yet. Last rites, there it was, okay. So, defense increased by 2. When HP is equal to 100%, damage taken is decreased by 40%. Now, if you have one of your healers that has a regen effect, you could roll that with him, and with this and Smoke Bomb, he could actually potentially tank damage for a very long time early on in your maps. That'd be pretty good. So those are my recommendations for that. Now we're going to go to the helmet. There's only one I'm recommending for the helm. Or is it the Vampire Mask? This one. I'm sure most of the helms are pretty decent, guys, but this one stuck out to me a little bit. So, defense plus 2%. After taking action, 25% chance to decrease defense by 20% for one enemy within 2 blocks. So in those inevitable times when you're dealing with a big cluster of enemies, this will help you mow them down just a little bit quicker. And then we get to accessories. There's a couple. Thor's Necklace, that's one of them. Attack plus 1%. Before initiating combat, 25% chance to deal fixed damage once to the enemy. Damage one time the hero's attack. Well, if you could do this fixed damage, and then say the other fixed damage from the other item I showed you, plus his passive. That's 3 fixed damages on top of all the other crazy stuff he can do. Now last is the Lone Star Amulet. Let's see if I could find that real quick. Nope, apparently not. Alright, I'll just keep clicking until I find it. Oh no, did I write down the effect? I might have wrote down the effect. Well, just kidding, guys. I guess I'm not recommending that. Just kidding, I'll look for it. I think, yeah, here it is, Dur. Okay. So, when no allies are within 2 blocks, attack and defense increases by 2%. So, oftentimes you're going to send your assassin out to either lock down a high mobility target. You could just warp them to them. Or you're going to send them out to go take out a range unit, such as a caster or an archer. So this will help with that because basically just get them more attack and more defense, help them survive and hit harder for longer. The more troops you leave alive, the harder you can hit, the harder you're killing their troops, etc. Just a really good item here. And another one that's decent, speed boots. Just for that mobility, you get that extra mobility. It's really nice. So, if you're doing assassin or sword. And that's pretty much it on gear, guys. So if you got this unit, you know, you haven't pulled Leon yet, this is a perfectly good unit to use as either a cavalry, or if you just want to go assassin for whatever the hell. Just a great unit overall. So, I hope that guy was okay, guys. It's really early for me, so I'm sorry I'm not my usual chipper self, but I woke up early so I could do this guide, and gotta now go back to bed because I gotta wake up later, and yada yada yada, do a bunch of stuff today. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So, I'll catch you guys later on. Hope this guide helps you. Oh, I should do my promo, huh? Yo, I'm Showtime Doctor, Showtimedr. You found my YouTube. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Also, there's a link. Check the title info. Hit click more. Link to my Discord as well as my Twitch. Should be self-explanatory what goes on in those 2 places. Got a tab for this game. Tab's growing pretty good, so I'll catch you guys later on. Have a good day.